They smiled when they met you, said all the right things, made you feel special, understood, important. But here's what you didn't know. Every compliment was calculated. Every favor came with invisible strings. And while you thought you were building a friendship, a partnership, maybe even love, they were building a trap. In psychology, there's a name for people like this. They are called Machiavellians. And by the time most people realize they are dealing with one, the damage is already done. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to spot them, before it's too late. Stay until the end, because the fifth red flag I'll reveal is the one that destroys marriages, careers, and even families, and almost nobody sees it coming. What is a Machiavellian? Before we dive into the red flags, you need to understand exactly what we are dealing with here. In 1970, two psychologists named Richard Christie and Florence Gies did something fascinating. They took the writings of a 16th century Italian philosopher named Niccolò Machiavelli, a man who wrote that deception, treachery, and manipulation were acceptable tools for gaining power, and they turned those ideas into a psychological test. What they discovered was chilling. Some people naturally think and operate like Machiavelli described. They view every social interaction as a transaction. They see relationships not as connections, but as opportunities. And they believe, truly believe, that the only thing that matters is getting what they want, no matter who gets hurt along the way. Psychologists now consider Machiavellianism one of the dark triad personality traits, alongside narcissism and psychopathy. But here's what makes Machiavellians uniquely dangerous. Unlike narcissists, who need attention and admiration, unlike psychopaths, who are often impulsive and reckless, Machiavellians are patient, strategic, calculated. They're the ones who can wait months, even years, before they make their move. They're the ones who study you, learn your weaknesses, understand exactly what you need to hear, and then use all of that information against you. Researcher Delroy Paulhus has stated that Machiavellians are especially common among white-collar criminals and con artists. They don't leave a trail of violence behind them. They leave a trail of broken trust, emptied bank accounts, and shattered hearts. And the scariest part? They look completely normal. Many of them are charming, intelligent, and successful. You might admire them. You might want to be like them. Until you become their target. So how do you protect yourself? You learn to see what they are hiding. The charm offensive. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Marcus. When Marcus walked into a room, everyone noticed. He had this presence, confident without being arrogant, friendly without being needy. Within minutes of meeting him, people felt like they'd known him for years. Marcus worked in sales, and he was extraordinary at it. His colleagues loved him. His clients trusted him. His managers promoted him. But there was something Marcus' admirers didn't see. Behind closed doors, Marcus kept files on people. Not professional files, personal files. He knew that his manager's marriage was struggling. He knew that his top client had a secret gambling problem. He knew that his coworker was afraid of being exposed for a mistake she'd made years ago. And Marcus didn't collect this information because he cared about these people. He collected it because he knew, someday, it might be useful. This is the first red flag of the Machiavellian personality, the charm offensive. Research consistently shows that Machiavellians are skilled at influencing others using charm, flattery, and calculated moves. They are experts at reading people, understanding what makes them feel good, and delivering exactly that. But here's the key difference between genuine warmth and Machiavellian charm. Genuine warmth continues when there's nothing to gain. Watch someone closely. Do they treat everyone the same way, or do they reserve their charm for people who can offer them something? Are they just as kind to the server at a restaurant as they are to a potential business partner? A Machiavellian's charm is selective. It's deployed strategically, and it disappears the moment you are no longer useful. Think about the people in your life who made you feel incredibly special at the beginning, and then slowly, over time, began to treat you as less and less important. That shift wasn't about you changing. It was about them no longer needing to perform. Here's a practical way to test for this. Pay attention to how quickly someone wants to become close to you. Genuine relationships develop over time. Machiavellians often try to accelerate intimacy because they need to establish trust quickly, before you have time to see who they really are. If someone seems too good to be true, too interested, too complimentary right from the start, keep your guard up. The cynical worldview. There's a question psychologists ask to identify Machiavellians, and it's devastatingly simple. Do you believe that most people are basically honest and trustworthy? A person with high Machiavellian traits will almost always answer no. They believe that everyone is selfish, that everyone lies, that everyone is looking out for themselves, and anyone who claims otherwise is either naive or hiding something. This cynical worldview isn't just a personality quirk. It's the engine that drives everything they do. Think about it from their perspective. If you genuinely believe that everyone around you is selfish and manipulative, then manipulating them first isn't wrong, it's self-defense. It's being smart. It's surviving in a world full of predators. This is why Machiavellians feel no guilt about what they do. They've convinced themselves that they are simply playing the same game everyone else is playing. They are just better at it. The second red flag is this: listen for the cynical worldview. Pay attention when someone talks about other people. How do they describe their colleagues, their friends, their family members? Do they assume the worst about people's motivations? Do they interpret kindness as weakness or as manipulation? Do they seem to believe that trusting someone is foolish, that vulnerability is dangerous, that looking out for yourself is the only sensible approach to life? These beliefs don't stay theoretical. They leak into behavior. Someone with a cynical worldview will casually justify cutting corners, breaking small promises, or bending the truth, because in their mind, everyone does it. They'll explain their own deceptive behavior as just being realistic or not naive. Let me give you a concrete example. You are talking to a new colleague, and you mention that you helped another coworker with a project without expecting anything in return. Watch their reaction. A healthy person might say, "That was kind of you." A Machiavellian might say something like, "So what did you get out of it?" Or, "You are too nice. People will take advantage of you." That response reveals everything. They cannot comprehend genuine altruism because they don't experience it themselves. And they are telling you, in that moment, exactly how they view the world, and how they'll treat you when it serves them. The strategic friendship. Let me introduce you to Sarah. Sarah was smart, ambitious, and deeply lonely. When she started a new job, she desperately wanted to make friends. And that's when she met Elena. Elena was everything Sarah wanted to be: confident, well-connected, admired by everyone. And for some reason, Elena took an immediate interest in Sarah. She invited her to lunch, included her in after-work events, and became the friend Sarah had always wanted. But here's what Sarah didn't notice at first. Elena only reached out when she needed something: a ride to the airport, someone to cover her shift, information about what other colleagues were saying about her. And whenever Sarah needed Elena, there was always an excuse. Elena was too busy. Something came up. Maybe next time. Slowly, Sarah realized that their entire friendship was built on her being useful. And when she finally stopped giving, Elena disappeared from her life like smoke. This is the third red flag: strategic friendships. Research shows that Machiavellians view relationships as transactions. They associate with certain people based on social status or influence rather than genuine compatibility. Their goal is to elevate their own status or to gain access to resources and opportunities. Here's how to spot this pattern. First, track the flow of favors. In healthy relationships, giving and receiving flows naturally in both directions. In a strategic friendship, one person is consistently giving more than they receive, and the Machiavellian is rarely the giver. Second, notice who they talk about. Machiavellians often name-drop people they know or brag about their connections. They want you to know who they have access to, because they understand that social capital is power. Third, watch how they treat people who can offer them nothing. This is crucial. How do they interact with the janitor, the intern, the barista? Someone with genuine character treats everyone with basic respect. A Machiavellian reserves their energy for people who matter to their goals. Fourth, ask yourself, do they know you, or do they just know your utility? A true friend knows your fears, your dreams, your quirks, the things that have nothing to do with what you can offer. A Machiavellian friend knows your job title, your connections, your resources. They know what you are worth to them, not who you are. The subtle boundary test. This is where things get darker. Research on Machiavellians reveals something fascinating and disturbing. They test people constantly. They probe for weaknesses. They push boundaries to see how much they can get away with. They do this because they need to know who can be manipulated and who will push back. Think of it like this: A Machiavellian is like a burglar testing doors in a neighborhood. They are not going to force their way into a house with a security system and a barking dog. They are looking for the door that's unlocked, the house that's undefended. The fourth red flag is the subtle boundary test. These tests don't usually look like obvious transgressions. They are subtle, deniable, easy to brush off as no big deal. Here are some examples. They ask you to share something confidential, just between us. They show up late without apologizing, to see if you'll call them out. They forget a promise they made, to see if you'll let it slide. They make a slightly inappropriate joke, to see how you react. They take credit for a small idea of yours, to see if you'll speak up. Each of these tests serves the same purpose. It tells the Machiavellian whether you are someone who holds your ground, or someone who can be pushed. And here's the critical thing. If you fail the test, they don't stop. They escalate. That small boundary violation becomes a bigger one. The forgotten promise becomes a pattern of broken commitments. The credit taking becomes outright theft of your work. If you've ever looked back at a toxic relationship and wondered, how did I end up here? How did I tolerate this? The answer is almost always that it happened gradually. One small boundary violation at a time, until the unacceptable became normal. So what do? You pass the test. When someone violates a small boundary, you address it. Calmly, clearly, without drama. You say, actually, I'd prefer you not share that, or, I noticed you didn't give me credit for that idea. I'd appreciate acknowledgement next time. This does two things. First, it protects you by establishing that you are not an easy target. Second, and this is key, it reveals who you are dealing with. A normal person will apologize, adjust, and respect your boundary going forward. A Machiavellian will react differently. They might dismiss your concern, make you feel like you are overreacting, or apologize insincerely while continuing the same behavior. That reaction tells you everything you need to know. The emotional coldness. I saved this one for last because it's the hardest to see, and it causes the most damage. Remember how I mentioned that Machiavellians are charming? That they can make you feel special, understood, valued? Here's the cruel irony. That warmth is a performance. And underneath it is a coldness that most people don't see until it's too late. Studies have found that Machiavellianism is associated with low levels of empathy, difficulty identifying and expressing emotions, and what psychologists call alexithymia, a condition where someone struggles to feel emotions at all. They can read emotions in others. They know when you are happy, sad, afraid, or vulnerable. But they don't feel those emotions with you. They observe them. And they use them. This is the fifth and final red flag, emotional coldness masked by performative warmth. Here's how it shows up. In romantic relationships, you might notice that your Machiavellian partner is perfectly attentive when things are good, but the moment you are struggling, they become impatient, dismissive, or absent. Your pain inconveniences them. Your needs frustrate them. Research confirms that people high in Machiavellianism are more likely to be dissatisfied with their relationships and to engage in controlling or emotionally abusive behavior. In friendships, you might notice that they never seem genuinely affected by your joys or your struggles. They say the right things, but something feels off. There's a hollowness to their support, like they are following a script rather than actually caring. In professional settings, they are the ones who can fire someone without blinking, cut ties without hesitation, or watch someone suffer without any visible discomfort, unless appearing compassionate serves their interests. Here's the tragedy of this red flag. By the time most people see it, they are already deeply invested. You've given them your trust, your time, your love. And when you finally realize that they can't give those things back, not really, not genuinely, it devastates you. Because you start to wonder, was any of it real? The answer, for a true Machiavellian, is no. It wasn't real for them. But here's what I want you to understand. That doesn't mean your feelings weren't real. That doesn't mean your trust was foolish. It means you were dealing with someone who is fundamentally incapable of the connection you were offering. And recognizing that, as painful as it is the first step toward protecting yourself. How to protect yourself. So now you know the 5 red flags. The charm offensive, excessive, strategic flattery that disappears when you are no longer useful. The cynical worldview, a deep belief that everyone is selfish and manipulative. Strategic friendships, relationships based on what you can offer, not who you are. The subtle boundary test, small violations designed to see how much they can get away with. Emotional coldness, a lack of genuine empathy hidden behind performative warmth. But knowing isn't enough. You need to act on what you know. Here's how to protect yourself. Trust your instincts. If something feels off about someone, don't dismiss that feeling. Your subconscious picks up on patterns before your conscious mind understands them. Take your time. Don't rush into relationships, whether romantic, professional, or personal. Machiavellians rely on building trust quickly before you can see who they really are. Slow down. Watch actions, not words. Machiavellians will tell you exactly what you want to hear. But their behavior tells the real story. Pay attention to what they do, especially when they think no one is watching. Maintain your boundaries. This is your single most important defense. When you establish and enforce clear boundaries, you make yourself a difficult target. Build a support network. Machiavellians often try to isolate their targets. Maintain strong connections with people you trust, and check in with them about your relationships. Sometimes the people around you can see what you can't. Don't try to beat them at their own game. Some people think that if they become more manipulative, they can protect themselves from manipulators. This doesn't work. You are not a manipulator by nature. That's actually your strength. Stick to honesty, clarity, and strong boundaries. And finally, know that walking away is always an option. If you realize you are dealing with a true Machiavellian, someone who sees you as a tool, not a person, you don't owe them your presence, your energy, or your love. You owe those things to yourself. Niccolò Machiavelli died over 500 years ago. But his philosophy, that manipulation is just smart strategy, that people are tools to be used, that power matters more than connection, lives on in people walking among us today. You've probably already met some of them. You might be dealing with one right now. But here's what I want you to take away from this video. You are not weak for trusting. You are not foolish for hoping. You are not broken for loving. You were simply facing an opponent who didn't play by the same rules you did. Now you know what to look for. And that knowledge is power. If this video helped you understand something about someone in your life, or helped you see a past relationship more clearly, drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you want more content on understanding the darker sides of human psychology, so you can protect yourself and the people you love, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Because knowledge isn't just power. It's protection. I'll see you in the next one.